guys, it's ASBYT and we've come to the end of the year, and we have seen in this year some amazing smartphones. I've unboxed and reviewed loads of them, some good, some bad, some just a bit strange. But if you're looking to buy a smartphone right now and going into early 2019, I'm going to go through my top 7 just in case you're looking to get your hands on a new device right now. So without further ado, let's look at what they are and why. So let's get straight to it. Now, because I have reviewed all of these in great detail, I'm not going to be spending too long on each. I'm going to be trying to do this as quick as possible so that you guys can just get a rough overview. If you want more detail, the videos are on the channel already. Now, I will leave links to all of these products in the video description below, so if you are interested in going through and getting more information or indeed purchasing them after watching this video, you can go and do that. Firstly, because it is the holiday season, I am going to be giving away a Lenovo Z5 Pro smartphone. I will be running the giveaway over on my Instagram account, ASB_YT. All the information will be left over there. So good luck and happy holidays if you are celebrating. So starting with the first smartphone, we have here, in my opinion, the best sub $200 phone. And that is, of course, the Xiaomi Mi A2. Now, the reason why I love this phone is because it's stock Android. It's part of the Android One program. It's got a pretty great camera, again, for the price. This variant's got 4GB of RAM, 64GB of storage, 5.99-inch Full HD display, Snapdragon 660 SoC, so while it's not the 800 series, it certainly is still a very, very good mid-range piece of kit. This phone also has the most clicky buttons, in my opinion, on the market. The best buttons of 2018 on a smartphone goes to the Xiaomi Mi A2, period, hands down, and that's a fact. The two sort of main potential downsides for me personally are the 3010 mAh battery capacity and no headphone jack. But if those two things bother you, then possibly go for the Mi A2 Lite, which has a 4000 mAh battery capacity and a headphone jack. Pros and cons to both of them. I just wish Xiaomi had put both of them together. We can't have everything. And when you take all of that into account, for £169 currently, that'll vary, but currently, I think it's a great phone. Okay, number 2. We've gone from one that possibly some of you haven't heard of. Now we've gone on to a real mainstream big hitter. We're of course talking about the Samsung Note 9. Now, I've done a couple of videos on this before, and my main overall impression of the Samsung Note 9 is it is currently probably, barring one thing which we'll get to, the best Android phone on the market for all features. If you want to take everything into account and you want to jam-pack a phone with features, the Samsung Note 9 is the one. In my opinion, best display on the market, great battery, 4000 mAh, the S Pen, very premium, great build quality. You can also get a terabyte of storage with the Note 9, including that micro SD card slot. The two downsides, and one of them's been fixed, is the price. It was, in my opinion, too expensive when you could get similar, not quite as many features, but similar Android phones for quite a lot less money. But that's obviously changed over time. You can now get the Note 9 on some pretty decent deals and reduced price for buying outright as well. But the main problem for me with the Note 9, and the only reason why I can't really use the Note 9 as my daily driver currently, is the camera. In my opinion, although the camera is good, it's not great. The front camera is pretty poor, in my opinion, compared to other flagships on the market. The rear camera takes some great shots, but if you're using the bokeh effect, depth effect, whatever you want to call it, or live focus, I think it's called on the Note 9, many different names across the phones. If you're using live focus on the Note 9, it's quite clunky. It takes quite a while to actually take that specific photo. And if things are moving, if you've got a moving target, then I've often found I've got blurred pictures. So a good camera, not a great camera, and therefore I can't use it as my daily driver. I will potentially look to port the Google camera onto here and then I may use it, but I often find those ported APKs of the Google camera app, they can be a little bit glitchy. If one works fluidly, then I'll try it. Now we're on to, in many people's opinions, the best all-round phone when you take into account money and you take into account features, and that's of course the OnePlus 6T. Now, this is the next iteration of the OnePlus 6. I could put the OnePlus 6 in here as well. They are very similar. You have the advantage of this, of the in-display fingerprint sensor if you want that, and the smaller notch, but you have the headphone jack on the OnePlus 6, so it depends on what's important to you. Very good Full HD Plus display, great build quality, very premium, great clicky buttons. Now, I've actually got the McLaren edition here. I was actually lucky enough to go down to the McLaren Technology Center to unbox this beautiful device. You can see that unboxing video again in the video description. Great day out, great phone. $499 the original OnePlus 6 retails for, so it is slap bang in that sort of mid-range price bracket, but it has a Snapdragon 845. This one has 10 gigabytes of RAM, which is a bit overkill, but the other variants have 6 gigabytes and 8 gigabytes. Storage options, 128 and 256 gigabytes, so plenty of storage on a smartphone. Yes, it doesn't have micro SD card expansion. OnePlus will tell you it's to kind of optimize the speed of the device, because certain micro SD cards, especially if they are poor quality ones, can often have detrimental effects to the performance of a smartphone, and that's why they tell you they don't do it. Whether you believe that or not is your decision. Again, a pretty great camera, but not the best camera. Like I said, it's a halfway house between getting the most out of a smartphone and getting the best price. And there's another one similar, which we'll get to. Right, so briefly with the OnePlus 6T, we talked about good value for money. I can't really say that about our next phone. Now, I have to include the iPhone XS Max here in this lineup, simply because although I think it's overpriced, I've said that before, it's built very well. iOS, whether you like it or hate it, is a very fluid operating system. If you're in that Apple ecosystem, it's very difficult to get out of, because all of your devices are synced up and it works very, very well. And that is often the main reason why people stick to iPhones, because they're Mac users, because they have a HomePod, because, you know, all of these things that keep them in that ecosystem, and they're all good products on their own, but when you put everything together, it does make life easier. Notch aside, it's a great display made by Samsung. Storage options, it starts at 64 gigabytes and goes up to 512. There isn't a micro SD card slot though, so again, that might be a factor for you. Now, the reason why I'm talking about the XS Max and not the XS and not the XR is because personally, I'm a big phone kind of guy, so I would prefer the Max over the original. And yes, the XR is probably better value for money. If you've got the money to spend big on a phone, I would personally go with the best. And currently the XS is, although only minor, it is better than the XR. Now, the A12 chip inside the new iPhones, XS, XS Max and XR, is the fastest currently on the market. Obviously, next year when we start seeing the Snapdragon 855, and also the Kirin 980, which has dropped already this year, coming close, but I still think in terms of raw performance, it's probably the best. Also, in terms of glitches and crashes and just working as a smartphone, I say this a lot, because the hardware and software is made by one company, it just gives Apple the edge in that department. It's got a great camera. Some people will say it's the best camera on the market. I don't quite agree with that, but I certainly think it's one of the top sort of three. My one main problem is I think they've got the saturation completely wrong. It's far too warm. Every single time I would take a shot of somebody's face or my face, the reds and the oranges just come out too much in my opinion. And the camera app, which is another problem. If you could edit the setup of the camera and bring those temperatures down, I would probably use this as a lot of my shots for social media. But currently in this state, I think there's better. Okay, so the fifth phone on this list is one that's going to go to, in my opinion, the most beautiful, experimental, and just a great phone. And this could have gone to a few different companies, the likes of Vivo with the Vivo Nex, and of course the Oppo Find X, but I think they priced themselves on release far too high. And this is where I think the Xiaomi Mi Mix 3 really works as a product. This phone currently comes in, again, like with the OnePlus 6T, at around the £500 mark, cheaper in certain regions as well. And I think that is a really, really good price for what this phone delivers. Not only do we have this beautiful ceramic back, one of, if not the fastest fingerprint sensor on the market, a great camera, again, not the best camera, and we have the fully bezel-less display due to the fact that we have, of course, the slider mechanism. So in there houses the front-facing camera and all of the sensors, etc., which means that, of course, we don't have to see them on the screen. There is no notch, there is no motorized part, which is another reason why, outside of the price, that the Oppo Find X, for example, doesn't make my list, is because I honestly feel that the slider mechanism will probably be more durable than a motorized moving part. It's a lot more solid as well than the Oppo Find X, which has been known to bend, break quite easily. Now, the potential downside is battery. It's 3,200 mAh, which, while I feel, like I said in my review, it outperforms that tag due to its optimization, it's still not quite as good as the Samsung Note 9, the OnePlus 6T, as an example. Another possible downside is it's quite a heavy phone due to that ceramic, so if you want a light phone, then don't get this. Possible beautify problems in terms of it smoothing out the face, for example, on selfies. You can tone it down a bit, but it's still a bit present in the software. Not something that would stop me buying it, but just, again, something to note. And all in all, again, another brilliant smartphone smartphone that's been made this year. So we have 2 left, actually 8, because there's a bonus one as well. Next up we have, in my opinion, and this will vary and DxO Mark won't tell you this, I still think currently what Google have done with the software makes this one of probably the top 2 smartphone cameras on the market. There's no surprise that a lot of people are downloading the Google camera app onto different smartphones in order to improve and enhance what their smartphone has. And while the rest of the features of the Google Pixel 3 and 3 XL are a little bit disappointing, I wanted more from Google in terms of their smartphones this year, and it just didn't quite deliver. If camera is paramount, if stock Android is paramount, then get the Google Pixel 3 or 3 XL. If battery's important, don't get the Pixel 3 XL. Design, I'm split, to be honest, because the back I really like, the front, as you well know, and I've actually quite a nice wallpaper to hide it. Let's see if we can find it. There it is. There it is. I know it's been overplayed, but I honestly don't know what the design team were thinking on that front panel. The chin's not exactly small either, so I like the way it feels in the hand. It's nice and light. The back, like I said, looks great. The camera's great. The stock Android 9 is great, but there's a lot of other things that I would personally improve. But nevertheless, for those 2 main reasons that I've mentioned, it has to be on my top list because, again, in my opinion, I've probably said that about 16 times. In my opinion, it's one of the top 2 cameras. So our last smartphone is coming, followed by our honourable mention, and it is, of course, the Xiaomi Pocophone F1, ladies and gentlemen. It had to be, didn't it? And the reason why the Pocophone F1 is on the list and is overall, out of all of these, in my opinion, I've said it again, in my opinion, the Pocophone, it's been a long video, the Pocophone F1 it has to be the breakthrough smartphone of the year, the best smartphone for the price, because for currently £240, we have a Snapdragon 845, we have a 4000 mAh battery capacity, we have a good camera, pretty fast fingerprint sensor, 6GB of RAM, a headphone jack, not the best display, but a good display, and the skin that they've used is closer to stock Android than MIUI, which is often another turn-off for some people with Xiaomi products. Now, there's confusion about who's made this phone. It does have Xiaomi as the parent company, but Pocophone are kind of the subsection, and they are technically their own brand, similar to what we've seen with Huawei and Honor. And the Honor 10 almost made this list, but just not quite. And yes, a few people have said they've had screen bleeding issues, the speaker quality not being amazing, compatibility problems with Netflix. But if I look at this device, knowing what it's got for £240, could I really nitpick on it that much? I think not. So the way I would describe the Pocophone F1 this year, what OnePlus sharted?
What happened to you?
But Ruben, I'm in a situation here. We have to leave now.
Well, no, can we stay a couple more minutes?
But dude, no. This is serious. I just sharded.
Well, OnePlus started with the flagship killer, great phone at a knockdown price. Pocophone have managed to do that on heap. This year, they have changed the landscape of smartphones. If you can get a Snapdragon 845 SoC in a smartphone, regardless of anything else, and it's got other things, for £240, that's madness. Insane. Brilliant. Top phone. And finally, my honourable mention, my bonus smartphone, if you like, is the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. Now, the reason why it's bonus is because I currently don't have it, but I have friends that have it, I have used it, and honestly, the phone is great. Yes, there's been issues potentially with Gluegate, with green screen problems, and while that could be a bad problem if you have it, there's a lot of great things about that phone as well. It's got a beautiful design, the camera's amazing, the Kirin 980 SoC is lightning quick, and it has been one of the most popular smartphones that has come out this year. As a result, it has to go on the list. So we have 8. We have my top 8 right here. This is where I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below which of these 8 is your favorite, or is there one not on here that I missed off? Because to be fair, I could have put 15 on here, 20 on here, because there has been loads of amazing smartphones released this year. I had to condense it into one video, so unfortunately, these are the 8 that I've chosen. All of these will be left in the video description below, so if you want to go through, get more information, or indeed purchase any, you can do that. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're new to the channel and want to be notified every time I post a video on anything tech. Pretty much daily content here on YouTube. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Send you on TP. Peace out.